Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for the virtual coffee. And I'm joined with Artie Travis, and we'll be glad to answer questions that you may have. Feel free to put questions in the information. First question, okay, we got a question here. Why does it seem that there's more concern about positive school representation rather than addressing the harassment that's been endured by student leaders for about a year? I don't think we are not concerned about the harassment issue. It's just that the harassment that's occurring is in social media. It's anonymous. We don't know for sure. There's been allegations of who the individuals are. And unfortunately, and I'll let Dr. Travis, if he wants to weigh in on this, but I'll give you my take on it. We have values here at the university. I will be very blunt and say that the interchanges that I see on social media, not only in this instance, but in others, certainly do not fit with those values, whether it's with regard to Frostburg State University or other issues or other comments that are made. Social media tends to have a very negative presentation, in my opinion. I see a lot of inappropriate language, inappropriate comments that are made in many instances on social media. Now, I will be very, again, upfront with you. I'm not of the generation of social media. And I do not participate in social media except through Twitter, where I try to present a positive image of the campus. And if you've been following anything that's been going on in the press, you know that there is evidence and suggestions that the algorithms that are used favor negativity on social media, not positivity. Given all of that, as a state institution, and when these concerns about harassment have been brought forward, they have been forwarded to review by our police department, law enforcement, and they do not rise to the level, in their opinion, of a crime. And we are bound by the First Amendment. That is part of the other values we have. And unfortunately, there are people out there who are saying nasty things about individuals, and we do not have control over, nor can we ban people because we don't like what they say. It is unfortunate, but the university is not in a position as a state institution where we can decide that the First Amendment does not apply because we don't like what they say. Given that, we still do not condone that as part of our value system, but this is the real world we live in. And people are not being very nice to each other and nasty in many instances. And unfortunately, there's nothing that I, as a president, can do to say, other than to say we do not condone it. But again, I don't know in instances of where these things are coming from, if in fact they are coming from the university community or not. But we are in a position, and then people make allegations, but allegations doesn't make it a fact. And we're dealing in a world where facts have seemed to have gone by the wayside, and people are going with attitudes and feelings. I've encouraged people, and I continue to encourage campus individuals to just be tolerant as much as you can of other individuals and don't engage some of these individuals. We have to develop, a tough hide in some instances on some of these things. I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but unfortunately, I don't have the power, nor do I want to exercise the power of violating the First Amendments by saying people can't. We're not going to let people say what they want to say, as long as it doesn't arise to the level that the police feel that it's a threat to somebody. People are protected by the First Amendment, and social media seems to be encouraging that kind of behavior, unfortunately. So that's the best place I can give you that answer. Artie, do you want to add anything?
I can only add what the president is saying, and please understand, each and every student that's out there listening and the students that you make contact with, we are an administration that does care about this campus community. We are a community that is committed to making sure that we have the appropriate support systems on this campus for each and every one of our students. We also have limits. Those limits mean that if there is not a violation of some criminal law, if there's not a violation of free speech, that we have to figure out how we as a university community can continue to support dialogue. I think one of the things is the fact that folks lack some of the knowledge, and they move forward with some of the misperceptions that we have. And I think that if we continue as a university community to continue to have dialogue, to have people stand up and not have innocent bystanders, but active bystanders to point out some of this discussion, because on social media, some of those things may be happening from some of our students, some may not be happening. But if friends and colleagues point out and know that folks are doing things that are not appropriate, that are hurting or hurtful, it's going to be one way in order for us to be able to, as a community, continue to come together. But please know that if there was something that we can do to stop the harassment through the social media, we would try it. If there was a way to continue to reach out to Facebook and to some of these other platforms, we would try to do that. But we are limited in what we can do. And we try to do what we can in order to make sure that every student on this campus has a comfortable and a safe environment. We don't support some of the dialogue that is out there on the social media. Well, of course we can't, but we can't stop it.
Thanks, Artie. It's just why get a question about the statement released by the NAACP. Again, I didn't notice. Why are we silent with SGA President Ari has been harassed for months? We have spoken out. Dr. Travis and Ms. Widener have spoken to Ari on a number of occasions. Quite frankly, what I have seen in social media, I'm not saying this is the case here, but responding to it encourages more of the harassment that occurs rather than less. And the question is, has anybody reached out to Ariana Ward to provide support? Dr. Travis has on numerous occasions reached out. Ms. Widener has reached out. I have talked with Ari. Again, we know it's there. We put out a statement saying that this is inappropriate, it's troublesome, but it is protected speech. There's a question here about when does speech get to the level of harassment. Harassing statements, hate speech, racist comments are all protected by the First Amendment. My understanding of it, until it's viewed as a threat to an individual, that's viewed as a credible threat. And again, we can ask the police. I will reach out to Chief Smith again on this. We will include it in an update. People can say very nasty things to you. It's protected by the First Amendment. We do not have the First Amendment does not require civil discourse among individuals. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. And we can't sit there and say we're going to change the First Amendment and eliminate it on this campus. And this gets back to a question too I see here. Can the police bar people from campus? Only in instances where there's viewed as a threat to the campus. And we just simply can't go around on a public campus and say, we'll allow you to come to campus. We won't allow you because we didn't like what you said. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world is. And we can't simply say to people, we didn't like what you said, so you're banned from campus. And quite frankly, in this instance here, again, remember, these are allegations. Again, I am not aware that anybody has said that this is, who the origin of these statements have been made. I have not seen any of this evidence, and I'm not asking to see this evidence, quite frankly, because I can't take any actions on any individual unless the police investigate it and come to the conclusion that there is a threat to somebody. So I'm sorry that that's where we are. The question is, does the school plan to make any changes to its harassment policies? I will ask UCDI to take University Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to take a look at our harassment policies. I'll ask student government to take a look at our harassment policies, as well as the faculty senate and the staff senate. And again, if we need to update our harassment policies, we will. Remember, and I've seen other schools put this on there, harassment, what raises to the level of harassment may not be what you would like as a students to be protected on. But again, it's one of those things that we have to make that call relative to what the courts have ruled harassment is. And we'll take a look at that. And it's the question is, if this was your son or daughter, I have a son, and if he's getting harassed, I'm going to deal with it the best way I can as a parent. My first thing is going to be, don't engage with those individuals on a continuing dialogue. Again, if somebody is going to harass anonymously, and quite frankly, I do get anonymous complaints about things I say, and I just do not respond to them. There's going to be a percentage of the population that's not happy with whatever I do, and I just got to do the best what I think for the university and for moving forward for the community. But if I'm going to address, especially anonymous, if people are not willing to come forward and put their name to a statement, I tend to disregard what they say. Unfortunate to be that, again, open about that, but and here's a statement here. I'm not sure what this statement is. Is it true that Allegheny NAACP never reached out? I'm not quite sure. It's a question from someone. I'm not quite sure what they mean, never reached out. NAACP has reached out to us once last spring, at least to me. And I think Artie, I don't know if you've had in any interchanges with the local NAACP chapter, if you want to speak to that. But in many instances, when we met with them in the spring with, I should say, we being, I think, Dr. Travis, you and I, and Ms. Widener, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, met with them, talked about their suggestions, and they're very helpful on some things. Again, I don't want to duplicate what University Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which has strong student representation on it, moves forward on. And we're open to having advice and help in creating as inclusive an environment as we can on campus. Artie, do you want to add anything there? If not, I'm fine with it. But
as far as the NAACP meeting, there have been a couple of forums. The Frostburg, the student chapter, invited some of the officers on the campus. This office participated in that discussion. That discussion, in fact, was prompted the faculty senate to look at some of the concerns that were expressed at that meeting. I am a member of the chapter, the Allegheny chapter, so I am a participant. But again, they did have a sit-down conversation. I think that there were some issues that probably were we didn't exactly follow through. The president again has made an invitation at least once a semester, and other times to invite different voices of the BIPOC community to the campus. NAACP will be one of those. I did also want to just continue to indicate that there have been numbers of times that members of this administration, Ms. Ward is a Frostburg Bobcat. Ms. Ward has been has had some stress on her this past, since the election occurred. It's not just administrators, but other colleagues, other administrators on campus, but also she has very strong support from her executive body. There was a question about why SGA is not participating. I do want to just say that I certainly am appreciative of the fact that the executive body is standing with her while she is going through some of the stress and the angst that she's got to deal with as a student leader in a situation where we can't do something about the social media attacks that are creating some of the angst with Ms. Ward. Yes, the university supports each and every one of our students. Yes, the university supports the leadership and leaders in general on this campus that not just only are standing up and fighting against racism, but sexism, of homophobia, of other issues of concern of importance to each and every one on this campus. So, to answer that question, yes, we have reached out. Yes, we support our students. And yes, we provide support to our student leaders on this campus. That's what your administration does on a day-to-day basis. Even though you sometimes may not feel it, you may not see it, but it's there. And let me answer. There was another question about SGA member. There was an SGA member that was sanctioned by the SGA for some comments that happened last year, but that was a SGA active student enrolled that was sanctioned by the Student Government Association. Question about, will this be done in the same situation? We don't have the right and the ability to sanction a non-student in the situation that you may be referring to. We just don't have that right because that non-student is not part of this university community.
There's a lot of emotion being expressed here, and I'm going to try to, I'm not going to get into the emotional responses. I don't think it'll be as productive. But again, I want to just say from my perspective, we've been in contact with SGA leadership, we being primarily through Dr. Travis's office. SGA reports to Dr. Travis. I don't want to overstep my bounds as president, but he has my full support, as does Robin Winder, in working with SGA as we move through this. There are other concerns that have been raised about SGA that we're working on as we move forward. And again, we're getting questions on both sides of the issue here from individuals as they move forward. The question about hate bias and what our definitions are, we'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at, I don't have it right in front of me right now to know what our definition is and what our statement is. I know we've talked with our legal counsel about the issue of the hate issues. Again, remember, some of these things are coming up off. Again, I have no way of knowing when things are posted on social media by anonymous individuals that the assumption that this is somebody on campus or that it's the individual that seems to have been alleged. My understanding is, again, I'm not in the investigative business. We have told students if they feel there are things here that they're concerned about, they can go to our campus police. They will provide them with the advice that they need to move forward if they feel that there is some legal action that can be taken on this. But as president, I am not a law enforcement officer who is there to make decisions about this rises to the level that the legal courts need to get into. We do have we have advised and continually advise people two things. One, that there are opportunities on campus through our counseling services. Our office doors are open to talk with students that are feeling these threats. But again, and they also have the opportunity to go to the campus police, who can advise them on what their legal rights are. But we cannot impose our own legal system moving forward, especially in a case when we're dealing with something that's on social media. Now, I will say that the students have brought forward some concerns that they said were occurring in classrooms and in classroom settings. And those issues have been taken immediately from SGA to have discussions with the Faculty Senate. And the Faculty Senate has been very responsive, I feel, and again, you have to ask SGA leadership, that these have been taken seriously and being addressed in regard to what's going on in the classroom. Excuse me, in the classroom. Again, you have to understand in those instances, we have to also add in academic freedom. Faculty do have protections as to what we want, what we can and can't do in the classroom. Now, this isn't an area, and I've had these discussions with student government in previous years, not just this year, but also previously. We talk about what we call safe spaces. And safe spaces does not mean, in my mind, that it's a place where you can feel safe that no one is going to say anything that will be upsetting to you. But it should be a safe space that we can have discussions and discourse among individuals in a civil fashion. And we can discuss different approaches and different ideas. Dr. Travis and I are teaching a class, an IDIS 350 class on American culture. And I can tell you that we've had discussions in that class where there have been differing opinions coming forward on different issues on American culture. And it's been, I feel, a very respectful discussion. It's been a very safe environment for people to express different opinions. That's what the university is about. It is not necessarily a campus where everybody has to agree on everything that's out there, but we should be in a position where we can civilly disagree and listen to other comments and other opinions of individuals without threatening anybody in their opinion. Now, when it goes on social media, that quite frankly is outside the control of the university. We do not have control over what people post on either side of what they want to post on social media. And again, quite honestly, I've seen, criticisms of me. People can criticize me on social media. I'm not gonna, I can't stop people from doing that. And there are people who've agreed with me on social media. I just don't try to engage in it. I don't think it's healthy for anybody to be engaged in it. But again, that's the opinion of somebody who's not from the current generation growing up with social media. But the question has come up about hate bias. We will take a look at it. We will get that information out there. I have seen some other schools wrestling with this as well. And understand public universities, the courts come down very hard on institutions that limit free speech on campus or free expression. And again, if you want to Google it, just take a look at public colleges and free speech, and you'll see that the courts have come down very hard on institutions that have tried to limit free speech from students, faculty, or staff, and said that that we are establishing our values and we want these to be held. The courts have been very adamant about the fact that they're going to give much more freedom to the First Amendment than they will to the values that an institution is saying that they want to hold. What are your plans to support? The same plans we have for everybody. After this incident, we will continue to work with the students to give them as many options as we can to help. And I want to again reach out and thank Dr. Travis as well as Ms. Widener for what they've been doing, working with SGA leadership on these issues. We're not making a lot of these things public. We're not putting emails out to the campus to say, here's what we're doing for the student government leadership. But Dr. Travis has reached out to the SGA leadership in a very timely fashion, offering through his office to give as much help as we possibly can to the students. And we're doing this to all students. It's not just SGA leadership, but certainly he has reached out to the SGA leadership in moving forward. The question is, do you agree that this campus is racist? No. And again, explaining myself, I asked Dr. Travis and working also Ms. Widener, and we restructured the University Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion 2 years ago. It was clear to me that we needed more student representation on that group. We have created it. I want to publicly thank Ms. Widener, who is serving as our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, and also Kara Rogers, who is also the co-chair of that committee, in leading us through the fact that they've developed a 10-point plan and brought forward that 10-point plan that's been presented to numerous groups on campus. They've conducted a campus climate survey. They've set up subcommittees to address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have a diverse campus in many different ways, not just in terms of race, but also in terms of gender identity, as two areas. But they've worked hard to try to identify ways we can improve the campus. And we're not saying we're perfect. I don't think society is perfect, but we're working through it. I will point out to the fact that, excuse me, we've established an onboarding program to focus on DEI awareness. We are requiring faculty, staff, and students to go through training on DEI. Excuse me, our police department has done things on implicit bias. We've done a lot of strides forward on this campus. Are we there yet? The answer is no, but we're not standing still. And when issues do come forward, Ms. Widener is addressing those issues. They come to her. If there are issues of Title IX, they're going to our Title IX officer. Those issues are being addressed in a timely fashion for the protection of people on campus. We'll continue to do that as we move forward. And again, we can always do better. We're welcoming, NAACP to give us their suggestions, but we also want to make them aware of what we are doing on campus as well as we're moving forward. I've been on campuses that do not have as much diversity as this campus does, and quite honestly, we're working through it to be in a place where, in fact, we can work more towards equity and inclusion. And in today's society, this is a very polarized society we're living in right now. You hear the words tribal, you hear the words of polarization, and unfortunately, this society, and as I said 2 years ago, I thought we made a lot greater strides. Dr. Travis and I grew up in the 60s when the civil rights movement was prominent in the country. We both lived through times that we wish we hadn't lived through, where there were riots in the cities we were living in, and unpleasantness, and hoping that, quite frankly, I thought we made greater strides than we actually have, which become clear in the last several years. And that's just a personal opinion on it. We're going to keep working at it. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Is there any concern for student safety on the campus currently? I am not hearing issues on campus. I'm not hearing issues off campus from the police of anything with racial or sexist issues coming up. The issues that seem to have been the ones that have been prominent right now are in social media. And again, Dr. Travis and I get a police report every day. If you feel that there is unsafe situations, you should recall the police. The police will come. Campus police are very sensitive to the issues and are there to protect individuals. But again, Artie, I don't know, are you hearing anything that contrary to what I just said?
Nothing contrary said. There may be a number of students who have some concerns about their safety because they have seen things on social media. When we hear that, and again, I think each and every student that has been over to campus police or the Frostburg City Police, they go through and find out, what the situation is, what the concern is, and there's a threshold where there is, a real perceived threat to a student here at the university, and if there is, then the Frostburg Police will put some layers of protection. Will give advice that even if the person feels that they are being threatened and there's a real threat, if there's a reason to move them out of the residence hall for a couple days until the threat is over, if there is that, we will do whatever we can to try to protect our students. But again, if actions or activities cross the line and they are defined as threatening, criminal behavior, then yes, the university will take actions, have taken actions and will continue to take action to make sure that we're providing that layer of protection for our students on this campus.
There's a number of questions. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but there are a lot of questions about the student government, SGA, on both sides of the issues. All I can say at this point is that there were some concerns that were raised with regard to some aspects of SGA that rose to the level that we had a discussion with student affairs leadership and felt that it was important for us to take a closer look at some of the operations of student government. And I'll just leave it at that at this point. It was felt that we needed to do it, and we were following up on it. And again, a question about being proactive. I think Dr. Travis just addressed it. When we see something that raises to the level that we feel, I have the utmost confidence. If you have not talked to Chief Smith, I would suggest that you talk with Chief Smith and her officers. They are very responsive, I believe, and I have not seen any indication not that they haven't been, to the sensitivities of our students and been very responsive to our students in the time I've been here. And again, have taken into consideration. Dr. Travis and I attended a Black Lives Matter demonstration, protest, whatever, a couple of years ago, wasn't it, Artie? I remember us going, and both both police chiefs, Chief Smith and Chief Costello from the city police, who is a Frostburg graduate, both spoke, I think, to the point that they received applause from the people attending for their comments and their concerns, and they're wanting to keep campus safe and wanting to have a safe environment for our students and for the staff and for the faculty, not only on campus, but also in the community. You should know too that this community is made up of, most of the people in this community are in fact Frostburg employees who care about our students. The vast majority do care about the students, share the values you do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working here, quite frankly. We have a lot of students, a lot of staff and faculty who want to be here. This school has always been about first generation college students and helping students who really, many instances are trying to do better and have cared about it. And this campus really does reflect, more so than many other campuses, the makeup of the state of Maryland. And so I'm very proud to be part of this campus and not ashamed about the makeup of this campus. We have a lot of challenges, and we have some of these challenges because of the diversity we have on this campus, but I think that's reflective of what we're seeing in society. Yes, the question is, have we have invited, I don't know if the invitation, let me ask Liz, has the invitation gone out to NAACP for the December? Yes, for December 6th, we've invited the community, and we're going to do it on a semester basis. There was a misunderstanding. I mean, we thought, again, we extended the idea that we do need to keep communication going, and we're willing to have communication with all parts of the community, including the NAACP, to talk with us about what's happening on campus. We are an important part of this community. When I mean community, I mean the region. As a state institution, we're probably the largest state entity in Allegheny County, and certainly in Garrett County as well. And we have a role to serve the community. And so we're inviting the community to learn more about it. We do a lot of outreach, quite frankly, through a number of events that go on, whether it's, working with doing things early on when the students come here to campus. We're doing storybook holidays in early December where students will be actively involved working with the community. We do cleanup in the spring and so forth. So we want to maintain good town-gown relationships, and again, willing to have answer questions that people have, knowing that we are a bit restricted and we can't limit the behaviors that people want us to do on campus because of some of the restrictions by the law. Regarding COVID, will Frostburg State be requiring testing of vaccinated students at some time, given most vaccinated students are 6 months plus out since last vaccination. And according to science, at risk of getting or spreading COVID, now in need of a booster vaccine. First of all, the science is not clear on that yet. I mean, unless you've seen students saw something that I haven't seen, the data, I mean, again, they're offering boosters for individuals. I got my booster a couple of weeks ago, but again, the science is not definitive, and we've seen that from the UMB, University of Maryland, Baltimore Medical School. We've had discussions with the presidents. The need or the effectiveness of the vaccine waning after 6 months is not that clear yet in terms of the data. And again, the question is, we will not, if students want to be checked, if anybody wants, if even students, let me clarify something here too. This question came up among the faculty at one of our calls. If you want to be tested next week before you go home for Thanksgiving, feel free to do so. The tests are available. It's not just for people who are unvaccinated. If anybody vaccinated wants to have a test, they certainly can. We've had a very good semester in many ways in terms of the number of cases. The biggest thing I think we've seen, and it's anecdotal, is that when we do have a case, we're not seeing a cluster outbreak like we did last year. And I think that's a testimony to the fact that the vaccine has been effective. Question here, do you actually value student leaders on campus? The answer is yes. Why would you want a student leader to attend a meeting when they feel unsafe? I'm not going to get into what students are feeling, and we feel that the meetings on campus are safe. If a student feels that they're not safe, I'm respecting that decision on the part of the individuals. I'm looking through some of these questions. Sorry for the delay here. Artie, if you see something you want to address too, feel free to jump in when you want here on that. The counseling services, again, from what I understand, are doing, again, we can never have enough counselors. And again, we can't afford to have a counselor for every student. I shouldn't have said it that way, but quite frankly, the counseling office, CAPS, I think, is doing a good job. Artie, have you, I mean, that reports to you, people who need it. And again, I know people are mentally stressed. I'm just going to share, I've stopped watching the news because it's been stressful for me. And as students, this is a difficult time because of COVID and everything else going on in society these days. You know, again, I don't know what to say other than the fact that we cannot, we're staffing it the best we can. Artie, what is the delay in terms of people getting to see counselors?
We have a on-site crisis counselor. If there is a crisis that a student is experiencing, they will be able to see the crisis counselor on that day. There's been like a 20 to 25% increase in number of students that have been making appointments, attending sessions in CAPS over last year. We have more numbers of counselors in the CAPS Center than we had last year. As the president would say if he's meeting with his other colleagues, mental health is certainly a priority here on the campus. That's why you've seen a change over the last year with the services, with what we have in the CAPS program. They do telehealth, they do face-to-face meetings. They've increased the number of group sessions they've had. I think that we can be pretty proud of what's happening with our CAPS program. The time between sessions has decreased over the last 2 or 3 years. I think they've been pretty effective. I also wanted just to answer a couple of the questions in there. Someone asked me, have I attended the NAAC meeting recently? The last two NAACP virtual meetings I didn't attend because I was attending meetings of students on the campus. I wanted to also address the fact that you know, we all on this campus abhor hate. The fact that there is hate out there, hate speech out there. You also understand, of course, we are an institution that thrives on trying to share and spread knowledge, and that in order for us to be able to destroy some of those misconceptions, we have to have dialogue. That's why we have these sessions. That's why you have the classroom session. I think each and every one that understands the First Amendment understands that hate speech can only be criminalized if it directly incites criminal activity or a specific threat to a targeted group or person. You know, we do not accept and want hate crime to occur, hate speech to occur on this campus. That's why we try to have many discussions and opportunities. No, we do not support hate on this campus. I think one of the last two messages I sent out to the campus says, let's have discussions of hate in the classroom, but not expressions of hate by our students or anybody in our community. So no, we don't support hate. We don't support anything that is not appropriate for this community. But again, we have rules and regulations and statutes that we have to adhere to in what we try to do. And yes, dialogue doesn't fix everything, but we can't try to figure out where we can move forward on if we don't talk. If we scream at each other, if we do social media against each other, if we don't sit and talk, we can't get to a point where at least we can understand who we are, where we are, and where we need to go. But no, this university is not a place that accepts hate, accepts things that create that. But we have to also learn and understand that as a learning community, we have to be able to try to be part of the answer to trying to address hate by what you do while you're here and what you do when you leave here.
Couple questions of why I'm not reading every question. There are literally, I don't know, 60, 70 questions here that are coming up, and there's a lot of emotionality, and I understand that, and they're on both sides of the issue. And again, what I'm hearing here, and there is a lengthy one here that I'm trying to find it. You know, again, other liberal art colleges do make a stand. They do deal with the issue because they know at the end of the day they can't afford to lose the reputation they have. Why are you concerned with how you look versus dealing with the ongoing situation? The ongoing situation, as far as I can understand, and you folks can correct me if I'm wrong on this, right now is social media. That is the most immediate one we're addressing. I see some questions about the professor and the issue that came up with regard to the slave doll. I do not know the extent of where that discussion is. I'd have to check with the faculty senate to find out where their discussions are with SGA leadership. Artie, do you know where that is at all in terms of discussions?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of that.
The question about there was the one incident that came up that the questions have been asked about the issue with Thomas Jefferson and the slave doll. I don't know if that's been resolved or if that's still an ongoing discussion.
That's ongoing discussion. The chair of the faculty senate has taken that on, and they are working to try to resolve that issue and that matter.
Okay. And again, you know, again, I'm very open to the idea of getting away from doing this virtual coffee thing. We can have a town hall and in person, and we can set that up for, I don't know if we can do it this week. We can do it early next week if students want to do that, or after the holidays to talk about it. I'm sensing a lot of the emotionality, I feel the emotionality that's here, and we want the campus to be safe. I am not hearing the question about. I'm not hearing reports. I'm not seeing reports about the racist issues that people are asking. People are, again, and again, somebody says we can visibly see you trying to pick and choose. Yes, there are literally 60 to 70 questions here that have been posted. And a number of these are ones where people are just expressing emotional responses. Again, things like, so let's be clear, you don't care about the feelings of your students. Yes, I do. Again, and then there are questions on SGA that are going from one side to the other. Question is, why don't I have an idea what the hate bias policy is? I want to be very specific and not just say something and then have it the day say, no, that's not what the policy says. I don't have it in front of me. I would rather be exact with it rather than inexact. As a Black student, how do you expect me to feel safe here? I need to know where the instances of not being safe, what it means for you not to be feeling safe on campus. Again, I'm trying to work through that in my own mind. I'm not Black, and I'm trying to understand where you feel not safe on campus in terms of the feelings. And so maybe this is something where we need to have an actual face-to-face sit-down, a meeting, virtual town hall to talk about this. I'll take a look at my schedule, see if we can schedule something for this Friday, if that would help. I can't get into a lot of the details on what's happening with the investigation. What's looking at the concerns that are being issued with regard to SGA. That's ongoing. And again, we can't, I'm not in a position to sit there and say, this is what's happening. Again, I don't even know some of the instances of those concerns enough that, except for the fact that they were considered, there were concerns that were raised that we said, we'll need to talk with SGA more detail about this. And again, questions coming up about the individual that's been accused or alleged with SGA.
And President, I want to go back to the mental health issue also. I just want to make sure that students know that over this last couple of years that non-emergency issues with CAP will be seen within 5 days. That, again, that has been reduced over the last year. I wanted to also respond, one of the questions, would you agree the city of Frostburg is racist? I would say that there is race issues anywhere in this country. I wouldn't say that the city of Frostburg itself is a place that supports that. I've been living here for almost 2 years, and I have probably seen or witnessed issues of microaggression. But I wouldn't say that everybody in the city of Frostburg is a racist. If everyone in the city was a racist, I don't know how long I would be able to stay here. But again, if I did, and when I do experience those microaggressions, I do try to let individuals know that this is happening. In answer one of the other questions, it says, as a Black student, how do you expect me to feel safe here? I expect any and every student on this campus, Black, white, member of Spectrum, Asian American, Pacific Islander, any student to feel safe here, and not just because you're a Black student, but any student to feel safe. And if we are aware and hear of those situations that make you feel in fear of your safety, then we will react and respond to that. But again, we can't control some of the emotional responses here, but we do everything we possibly can with all the support services, the police, CAPS, folks in residence life, your mentors, any and everywhere you can turn. There is somebody on this campus going to reach out and listen to you. And if there is a situation where you are not safe, then we need to hear about it. I think sometimes you get tired of one of my responses is we have a hate bias response team, and when there are hate bias incidents that are reported, we get to the bottom of those and try to respond in the appropriate manner. There have been, in the last probably 2 months, there have been 6 incidents that have been filed regarding hate bias situations, and we respond to those. In some of the cases, in some cases, we can't know if we don't know. If there are situations that are hate bias, then we need folks to report those. And as I said before, every time we try to send a notice out, we try to send the notice where you do that so we can try to address the hate bias situations that are on the campus.
Thanks, Artie. I just looked through my schedule. One of the questions came up again. What am I doing? What am I doing? I am staying in contact, working with Dr. Travis, working with Ms. Widener. But I looked at my calendar. I'm going to make time tomorrow at noon. I will endeavor to have this in the Atkinson room. I will be glad to come and listen and hear the concerns that are being expressed by students here. And really just to listen. I want to hear these issues that are of concern to the students here. I may not have answers for you or answers that you like in asking me to do certain things, but you want to know what I will do. I will be glad to come out tomorrow at noon. I don't know the location. I will try to get the Atkinson room if it's available. We'll put a note out in the morning. But again, if people want to come in and talk and listen, we did this 4 years ago after the 2016 election. And again, I'm willing to sit and listen to the concerns you have on it. But again, I know there's a lot of emotionality here that's being expressed. And so I'll make that commitment tomorrow. The only other time I had was Friday at 3 o'clock, and I'm not sure that 3 o'clock is a good time on a Friday for students to get together.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that's right. And so again, somebody posted in capital letters, "You're not hearing because you're not listening." I'll be listening tomorrow at noon, and we'll let you know the location. If the Atkinson room is available in the Lane Center, it will be there. If not, it will be one of the other rooms that we can identify in the Lane Center. There was a question here about a different issue on emergency funding. Artie, I don't know if you saw it. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody said it's been 2 months since I applied for emergency funds, that they would hear at the end of the week. Still haven't heard anything. If this is beyond the CARES Act money, Artie, is that something that goes to you? Where does that go to?
Yeah, I know I had sent the notice out to all the students that applied for the Student Affairs Emergency Fund. I sent a notice out to them that said that we were waiting until all of the CARES Act money had been distributed. I received notice as part of the CARES distribution team that we have expended all the funds for the spring term, and once we expended that we were going to look at the Student Affairs Emergency Fund. The Student Affairs Emergency Fund, again, is for an immediate, real-time emergency. The cap on that emergency is $500. If you apply for the Student Affairs Emergency Fund, you would have received an email from me just recently saying that's the process, and we're going through the request at this point in time. Again, a lot of students thought that this was another CARES. It's not CARES. It's for an immediate emergency. And if you did not get a notice from me, please send a notice to my email to let me know that you have not received notice about your Student Affairs Emergency Fund request.
Okay, here's a question. There's a couple questions about COVID. Let me address it. One person said that they tested negative, then they had symptoms and tested positive. The rapid test we're using, more than likely, when you tested negative, you did not have enough of the virus to be picked up on the test. The rapid tests, when they do come back positive, usually indicate you do have the virus, and we're treating it that way. If you do have symptoms, we're recommending you get tested. You may have not had enough of the virus at the time before you were symptomatic. That's why we are asking people to test twice. The advantage of the rapid tests that we're using is that we get the results in 15 minutes. The PCR tests take 3 days to get the results on. And so the recommendation from the system has been to test people at least once a week. We're doing twice a week with the rapid tests. There's somebody else had another question about COVID. There's a question here, though. It says, please answer this question. Are the responses and social media interactions of SGA senators and exec board a violation of the SGA conduct? The answer is no. What people do on social media is their own business. Again, we're not monitoring nor reviewing or anything that people do. There's no ramifications for what people put out on social media. That is their right to free speech. So that has nothing to do with the SGA conduct. Am I correct on that, Artie, or am I saying something incorrect? Okay. Let's see what else there is here. It's 5:27. I'll see if I can find a couple others. Okay, I see questions about, again, uncomfortable and unsafe. I'm going to listen tomorrow. I'll be there to listen. And then some of the other questions we continue to get are opinions, some strong social, emotional opinions. Somebody feels I'm stupid. Okay, it's your right to say that. So the question is here, why is Frostburg State's test cost $5 per test and testing else is $25? Are you choosing a cheaper, less effective way of testing? The answer is no. That's a price that we were able to negotiate. The University System of Maryland negotiated a lower price. It's exactly the same test that you're buying at Walmart or anywhere else. It's just that we bought it in bulk from the state system, straight from Abbott testing. It's the exact same test. We just got a better price on it. Okay, I don't see any other questions here. Artie, do you see anything that you feel we should address? I'm looking through it.
There's still a lot of emotionality about out there, but I think we kind of covered most of the things. I did want to say that each and every one of the students on this campus, if you don't know, we are here and we are committed to support you and your education. And anyone who thinks that we don't care about them, I apologize for you to think that if we have a disagreement, we don't see things the way that you see things. If you think that we don't care about you, I apologize. But my role and my responsibility is to care about each and every student on this campus from the day that they enroll to the day that they graduate. And if we don't agree, I respect that. But you are one of the students that I'm supposed to be here to support as best as I can support. And there will be times that we disagree, but that does not take away the fact that I care about each and every one of the students on this campus. And I would say that with each and every one of the vice president, the president, and everyone else, or else we wouldn't be here at Frostburg State University trying to do the job of making this place as safe as we can, a place for you to be able to graduate and go out and be great.
Thank you for saying that, Artie. And again, I concur totally with what you're saying. Everybody here, including myself, I want to thank the students for the emotionality. I mean, you're expressing your opinions. I'm glad you're expressing them. You may not like where we are in some of the responses that we're moving forward with. It's a hard time, and again, I can't say I understand and feel I understand what you're going through, and other than to say that I acknowledge that I know you're going through some tough times. There's a lot of emotionality that's coming out. We'll do our best. I'll do my best. I'll keep trying to do my best to help work through this with everybody and lead the institution as best I can. But know that when I mentioned the fact of other vice presidents or other people working, it is a team. It is a team here that's making these things happen. And again, we'll do the best we can and hope to live up to what you hope we should be doing. With that, I guess we'll stop where we are. And I want to thank the students that were on and the other individuals. And I hope everybody, if I don't get to see you tomorrow or whatever, have a safe Thanksgiving holiday. And we'll continue to endeavor to make this a better place here for you as we move forward. Thank you.